start with a universal emotional hook, a deeply relatable moment where being too good led to pain, betrayal, or powerlessness. Use emotionally charged language and a slow, persuasive rhythm. Drop a strong quote from the prince to shatter the illusion of the good person. One pose the central question: what if everything you've been taught about being good is wrong? The myth of the good person perspective, societal programming, and the illusion of morality. How societies have conditioned people to associate goodness with weakness. Machiavelli's warning: men ought either to be well treated or crushed. Real-life examples of individuals, leaders, whistleblowers, common people who were good and paid for it. The religious and cultural creation of the good person ideal. Better to be feared than loved perspective. Power, control, and the nature of people. Explore Machiavelli's infamous quote: "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Real-world examples: tyrants, CEOs, politicians who chose fear and thrived. The psychology behind why people respect fear more than kindness. Unpack the difference between being feared and being hated. The cold reality of human nature perspective. Human self-interest and ingratitude. Human nature as seen by Machiavelli. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars and deceivers. Sad stories. Loyalty rewarded with betrayal, e.g. Julius Caesar, whistleblowers, political martyrs. Why altruism is often punished. Contrast with how predators in the wild survive by being strategic, not kind. The Prince's Mask. Appear good, act strategic. Perspective. Appearance versus reality in human behavior. The masterstroke. A prince must appear to be virtuous, even if he is not. Talk about modern branding, politicians, influencers, the performance of goodness. Why authenticity is a myth in positions of power. Case studies. Leaders who wore the mask, MLK, Gandhi, Churchill. Show contradictions. Neuroscience and behavioral psychology. Validate. Machiavelli perspective. Scientific evidence from modern psychology. Mirror Machiavelli's ideas with findings in behavioral science. Experiments on morality, obedience, selfishness, e.g. Milgram, Stanford Prison, social conformity, the dopamine reward system, and how it punishes self-sacrifice. The illusion of free will in moral choices. Reframe what being a good person actually means. Not about kindness, but about effectiveness with boundaries. End with a final reflection. In a world of wolves, the sheep who survives is the one who learns to wear a wolf's skin, the cost of being good. There's something quietly tragic about the kindest people you know. They're the ones who answer texts at 2 a.m., who stay a little longer at work while others clock out, who say sorry even when they're not wrong, who give and give and give until there's nothing left but a hollowed-out version of who they used to be. They don't make headlines. They don't start revolutions. They disappear quietly, used, drained, forgotten. And still, the world keeps telling them, be good. But what if I told you that being good is not a virtue, it's a trap? That morality, as you've been taught, isn't real. That the ones who rise, who rule, who remain, they never were good. They were effective. Niccolò Machiavelli saw it 5 centuries ago. He watched men fall from power, not because they were evil, but because they were too kind, too forgiving, too idealistic. He wrote bluntly, "There will always be a time when you must do wrong in order to preserve the state." That wasn't cynicism, that was survival, because behind every act of cruelty in history, there was always a smiling face trying to do the right thing. Think about it. The friend who stayed loyal to everyone ended up alone. The worker who gave everything to the company got fired first. The honest politician, destroyed. The good man, walked on, forgotten, replaced. Still want to. Be good? No one tells you this. Goodness without power is useless, and power, real, lasting power, does not come from being liked. It comes from understanding people at their darkest and knowing exactly when to act like a lion or a fox. This is not about becoming cruel, it's about waking up. Because the world does not reward the most moral. It rewards the most strategic, and Machiavelli, he didn't teach evil, he taught clarity. So in this video, we're going to tear down the illusion of the good person. We'll walk through Machiavelli's real message, stripped of myth and misquote. We'll expose the uncomfortable truth about human nature. We'll confront the betrayal that waits for the naive. And finally, we'll show how science, yes, modern neuroscience and psychology, has quietly proven him right. If you've ever been hurt for being too kind, if you've ever wondered why cruelty seems to win, if you've ever felt invisible despite your best intentions, this might change everything. Let's begin. The myth of the good person. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but no one ever talks about the ones who built it. Every society has a sacred story, a bedtime tale for adults. Ours is the myth of the good person, not just good, selfless, generous, moral, endlessly forgiving. The kind of person who turns the other cheek, carries the burden, sacrifices quietly. We glorify them in movies. We teach their virtues in schools. We chant their qualities in churches. But where are they now? Where are all these good people we raised and praised? They are in hospitals, drained by everyone's problems but their own. They are in offices, passed over by louder, colder co-workers. They are in toxic relationships, apologizing for things they didn't do. They are everywhere, except where power is. Why? Because goodness, when practiced blindly, becomes a liability. It's currency in a market that no longer trades in honor. Machiavelli saw this clearly, brutally, unapologetically. In The Prince, he writes, "A man who strives to be good in all regards will come to ruin among the great number who are not good." There's no confusion in that sentence, no poetry, just precision. He's not saying goodness is wrong. He's saying it's suicidal when it isn't strategic. To Machiavelli, morality was never absolute. It was situational, a tool, a disguise, a temporary mask. He believed that a ruler should know how to act morally, but be prepared to act immorally when necessary. Because the world, he knew, is not kind. It is not fair. It is not ruled by ethics. It is ruled by interests. And here's the painful irony: the very people who scream loudest about goodness, the institutions, the ideologues, the elites, are often the most ruthless when no one is watching. Think of the priest who preaches purity while hiding abuse, the humanitarian who takes photo ops with starving children before flying back first class, the CEO who donates to charity after laying off 500 workers. They understand what Machiavelli understood. Perception is power. So why do we still cling to the fairy tale? Because it comforts us. It gives the powerless a script to follow, a way to feel superior while staying small. But here's where it gets darker. Society needs good people, not to lead, but to obey, to sacrifice, to apologize, to absorb the damage, to maintain the illusion that the system is moral, because without them, the entire stage collapses. But if you want to do more than survive, if you want to navigate life without being used, dismissed or betrayed, you must understand the truth Machiavelli risked everything to right. Goodness, when stripped of wisdom, becomes a weakness, and those who worship morality without strategy often become martyrs, not leaders. This is not a call to cruelty, it's a call to wake up, because the ones who win are not always the best. They're the ones who understood the game. Better to be feared than loved. There's a specific kind of silence that happens just before a betrayal. A moment, brief, sharp, when you realize that being loved never stopped anyone from hurting you. Think about it. People say they love you, but forget you when they don't need you. They say they love you, but choose convenience over loyalty. They say they love you, but abandon you the moment you stop being useful. So ask yourself, is love a shield or a story we tell to feel safe? Machiavelli didn't trust love. He trusted behavior, and behavior, he knew, is driven by fear far more than affection. In The Prince, he wrote the line that made him infamous: "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose." This wasn't cruelty, this was observation. He had watched leaders rise on love and fall the second their popularity faded. He had seen men adored by the people and stabbed by the same people days later. Love is fragile. Fear is functional. But this needs to be understood clearly. Machiavelli did not say it's good to be hated. He didn't call for violence. He didn't praise tyranny. He spoke of fear, not terror. Respect, not abuse. He explained, "A wise ruler must rely on what he controls, not on what others feel. Feelings shift, power does not. And here's what makes this relevant to you, right now." In your own life, you've likely seen it. The boss who's friendly but loses control of the team. The parent who wants to be liked and ends up disrespected. The partner who avoids conflict and becomes invisible. The friend who never sets boundaries and gets used. Fear, when calibrated, not through violence, but through self-respect, consequence and clarity, creates stability. Because when people fear disappointing you, losing you, underestimating you, they think twice. And when people only love you, they forget that you can walk away. We live in a world drunk on validation. Likes, hearts, applause, attention. We confuse visibility with influence, softness with virtue, approval with power. But Machiavelli understood something that modern psychology is only beginning to explore. People don't.